Hi, welcome back to Tanya's Tasting Table. Today I'm going to show you how to open up these three wines. So here is your classic Prosecco with the nice cork enclosure. Then we have the ever popular Stelvin enclosure, simply called the twist off, but I got a trick for you, okay? So follow along. And then we have your classic cork enclosure. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and give me a like. Tell your friends, share. You know the deal. It helps me out a lot and helps make more videos like this. So without further ado, let's get it started. Okay. So first things first. We have a Prosecco. So if you've been seeing this around, it is the Valdo from Valdobbiadene, Italy. And this is their Marca Oro Prosecco Rosé Brut. But the exciting thing here is that it is a DOC, meaning that it is from a designated origin area and is of the highest quality. And that is fun because their rosé Proseccos used to just be, well, called rosé Proseccos, but they weren't legally denominated, but now they are. But forgive me, that is a little bit of a tangent. Anyhow, the reason you're here is to see how Mama does it. So give me a second, here we go. So the fundamental issue here is that this is under pressure. There is a lot of little bubbles dancing around in here, and if they have their way, they will explode. So you have to make sure of a couple of things, and one of them is to keep your hand on the top. So here we go. We're going to keep our hand on the top. We're also going to put it at a 45-degree angle. Nowadays, people have been very helpful and they have been creating these little flaps right here. As you can see, there's a little thing that you can put your nail under or your wine key under. And that is just the little tab that has a perforation. And you can just open it up, easy as it goes. But if you are a wine professional, you would know you must keep your hand on the top because you don't want it to explode. The other thing is there's a little handy thing right here that you use, and there are 6 twirls. Yes, 6. Now you have that for trivia night. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Voila. Okay, now make sure that your hand is always on top, just so. Use your 2 fingers to open the cage. Now I'm keeping my hand on there. This is not the easiest thing to do, but it is possible. And now you're just going to use the pressure from the bottom, from the top. Give it a little squeeze. Turn it around. I'm not being very elegant here. But I did it. Jack, don't be rude. He's excited too. Jack. Okay, well, just for a little reward, let's see how it turned out. And it is beautiful. Now, to preserve the bubbles for a little longer, put the little cap enclosure on here. So stick it in there. Make sure you have it like that. And you should be able to keep your bubbles fresh for at least 3 days. The bubbles won't be as persistent and the flavor will not be as perfect, but you can have this over 3 days. It'll be fine. So the wine here is a combination of Glera, which is what you expect from Prosecco. That is the main allowed grape variety. And a little bit of Pinot Nero or Pinot Noir in French or English, Pinot Nero in Italian. And that's what gives it the beautiful pink color, the nice rosé color. The bubbles come from injected CO2, which is called the Charmat method. And it was created in the 1800s by Carpene Volte. And we've basically been using the system ever since. Cheers. Delicious. Anyhow, the next one I'm going to show you is the Scheid family. And this is a Sauvignon Blanc done with a Stelvin enclosure. Now, this is a very popular enclosure because it produces no cork taint because there is no cork. So it is a bit more sustainable. There are some people who do not prefer prefer Stelvin on more expensive wine, rarer wine, because it does not allow for micro-oxygenation. You want a little micro-oxygenation when you're going to age a wine for decades. You want a little bit of play between the air and the wine so that they can interact and create those soft, beautiful flavors. If you are intending on drinking this wine within a day or 2 years after purchasing it, you don't have to worry about any of that. If you are a boater or a hiker, or you just are kind of intimidated by these things, Stelvin is perfectly fine. So, because it is also a really great way of keeping wine enclosed, it is airtight. So it's on there pretty well. Do not put your entire hand over it and move it. You will cut the little pieces of your hand right there, and it will hurt and it won't be fun. And if you're opening more than one bottle a night or a day, or if it's a part of your job, you definitely don't want that. So what you do instead is you take the bottom and you just turn it. There you go. It is open. It's not quite open. When you open it here, now it's open. You see on the inside how there's some kind of like a little bit of a cushioning there. That is how it keeps it completely closed. So this winery is made in California in a region called Monterey. It's made by the Scheid family who started planting grapes in 1972. They do use organic and sustainable practices, so they are a very well respecting winery. They do sell a lot of their grapes to other winemakers because their quality is so high. They figured, I have so much to share, why don't I? So let's give it a little taste. So this wine glass right here was specially created for white wine. So it has a very long goblet, if you will, but it's very narrow. And the top is super tight. So what happens is it traps all of the aromatics in the glass beautifully. So you don't need a whole lot of wine in there. Actually, it's probably better not to have that much wine in there so that all of the flavor molecules can take up the air right here, and then it's a little bit more pronounced when it's in your glass. Kiwi, orange blossom, grapefruit, wet stone. This wine is very pretty. This is a Riedel glass, and I will link the website below so you can find where to buy such a glass. They are exquisite. If you are a big white wine drinker, you have to get a set because otherwise you're really not appreciating and experiencing all of the subtleties that aromatic whites provide. And that's the half the fun, isn't it? Actually tasting. So give me a second while I taste. Delicious. You can tell it's from California because it has a little bit more riper fruits to it, a little bit more pineapple, a little less grass like you would find in New Zealand. But if you're a Loire Valley drinker, like you like Sancerre, you will really like this wine. There is no oak on it. It is really delicious. And I would seek it out if I were you. Okay. So, and then the other thing is that you can put this in the refrigerator and it doesn't drip. It's so good. Okay, so the most traditional style of wine enclosure. Here is the famous cork. So this wine right here is a little Montepulciano di Abruzzo made by the Umani Ronchi family. And so I'm going to use a classic waiter's corkscrew. So this is what you call a double hinger. So that's where there's one hinge there, and there's the second hinge there. The second hinge is not too hingy, but it hinges enough that you need it. And then here's the corkscrew part of it. And then here is what they call a foil cutter. So this handy dandy tool has opened at least 4,691 bottles of wine. I have had it for years, and it is Old Faithful. I actually got it from Washington State when I went out there back in 2010. Yep, it was a long time ago. Okay, without further ado, here we go. So there are a couple of places that you can cut the foil. Some people just rip the whole thing off. The foil is actually, spoiler alert, it is decorative. You do often see that there is the winery seal there, but it doesn't actually serve a real purpose. Sorry, guys. Sorry to shatter your ideas. This is the little piece of tape that the cooperation or the organization of the DOC winemakers, they give each winery the exact amount of pieces of tape to put on their bottles that will fit the exact amount of wine that they made. So if they made 10,000 bottles, they will receive 10,000 of these. They will not receive 10,200, for example. They will receive the exact amount that they petitioned for. So I hope none of them are screwy. Okay, so what you can do here is, now some people like to take off just the tiniest bit. I am aggressive and I like to take off more. You do what you want to do, but this is the basic idea, okay? So you take your little foil cutter right here and you take it around, and the reason why I like to put it underneath part is because it's just easier. And what are we if not lazy by nature, right? So now I have a nice foil cut here. Make sure that all the way around it's all cut. Okay, now use same foil cutter right here, pull it up, and now you have taken that off. Now that's not the prettiest way to do it, but you know what? It's a way to do it, and I can get to my wine now. So now we're opening it up all the way. Gonna get put the little foil cutter back because we don't need that anymore. Take the corkscrew out, stick it basically in the center. This is really cute because this one actually has a little bullseye, so you know exactly where center is. You take a little and then just twist it, twist, go all the way down. So this is a newer vintage, so the cork is nice and hard. If this is an old bottle of wine, there's a totally different way to open it. The basic idea is the same, but you have to be extraordinarily careful when you're pulling the cork out, because the cork is usually like butter after 10 to 20 years, and it can crumble. Now, if it crumbles, it just makes your wine messy. You have to filter it and decanter it. So that's a whole nother story for a whole nother time. But right now we have a relatively young bottle of wine that should have an intact cork. Now here's where the double hinges come in handy. One hinge, can you see that? One hinge. Now it's up halfway. Now I use the other part of the hinge and I release it all the way. And now you can be very, very careful here as to have a gentle extraction. So you can see here, it is a compressed cork. I used cork too many times, but these are all tested, so they are totally clean. You will not get any cork taint if you have one of these, and it'll indicate that it is recyclable, that it is for the consumption of wine, and basically all the other jargon. And it's nice to see that the winery name is right there, and that is helpful if you are somebody who likes to remember the wines that you've drunk. So let's have a little go. So another one of my favorite glasses here, another Riedel, and this is a Montepulciano di Abruzzo by Umani Ranchi. So this is a nice rustic wine, perfect with pizza, perfect cherry, nice cherry. Cherry and leather, tobacco, and some tartness, and it is really got a nice earthy undertone to it. So especially if you like Italian seasoning, this wine is perfect with anything that has Italian seasoning. What comes to mind is an eggplant parmesan, match made in heaven. Well, thank you so much for following along with Tanya's Tasting Table. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and tell your friends, and I'll see you for the next one. Take care.